The sleek coalition vessel descended through Earth's atmosphere, its silver hull reflecting the morning sunlight. Inside, Ambassador Lyra adjusted her translucent membrane suit, standard protection against alien environments. Her iridescent scales shifted colors with each movement, betraying her hidden nervousness despite her diplomatic training. Earth wasn't supposed to be an important assignment. The Coalition considered it a mere formality, sending an observer to study what they viewed as a developing civilization. Lyra had read the reports. Humans were centuries behind in space travel, still burning fossil fuels, and hadn't even colonized their own solar system properly. The ship landed at the International Science Complex in Nevada. Through the viewport, Lyra observed the simple concrete and steel structures with mild disappointment. On her homeworld, buildings grew from living crystal. These looked painfully primitive in comparison. "Ambassador, welcome to Earth," said Director Adams, a tall human with graying hair. He stood straight-backed, wearing what humans called a suit. At least they had learned to dress formally, Lyra thought. "The Coalition sends its regards," Lyra replied through her translator. "I look forward to observing your technological development." She didn't bother hiding the subtle condescension in her tone. After all, these humans were barely space-capable. Director Adams led her through the facility. Lyra noted everything in her digital recorder. The simple electronic doors, basic computer terminals, and what appeared to be primitive research equipment. Her report would be brief. Another confirmation of human technological infancy. "And this is where you'll be spending most of your time," Adams said, stopping before a heavy door marked Project Phoenix, authorized personnel only. "You'll be working with our lead engineer." The door opened, revealing a vast laboratory space. Unlike the rest of the facility, this room hummed with energy. Strange devices lined the walls, their purpose unclear even to Lyra's advanced knowledge. A man stood at a central workstation, his back turned to them. He wore simple clothes, what humans called jeans, and a t-shirt, another sign of their casual approach to important work, Lyra thought. "Ambassador, meet Tom Wilson, our lead engineer on Project Phoenix." Tom turned around, and Lyra's first impression was underwhelming. He looked ordinary, with brown hair and eyes that crinkled when he smiled. No neural enhancements, no biotechnology visible, just a simple human. "Welcome to my lab," Tom said, extending his hand in the human greeting custom. "I hope you'll find our work interesting." Lyra touched his hand briefly, noting the warmth. "I'm sure it will be educational," she replied diplomatically. As Tom began explaining their current projects, Lyra's attention wandered to a strange device in the corner. It pulsed with a blue light that seemed to bend in impossible ways. When she asked about it, Tom just smiled. "Oh, that's just a cooling system," he said casually, too casually. Lyra's sensory tendrils detected something odd. The energy signature didn't match any cooling system she knew. But surely these humans couldn't have anything that advanced. The rest of the day passed with standard tours and briefings. Lyra sent her first report to the Coalition. Humans operating at expected technological level. Simple but eager to learn. Project Phoenix appears to be basic energy research. That night, in her assigned quarters, Lyra reviewed her notes. Something about Tom's lab bothered her. The equations on his screens had looked simple at first glance, but now, thinking back, there was a complexity to them she hadn't noticed initially. "No," she said to herself, her scales shifting to a doubtful blue. "They're just humans. Simple, primitive humans." She couldn't have known then how wrong she was, or how Project Phoenix would change everything she thought she knew about humanity. As she drifted off to sleep, the image of that strange blue light kept pulsing in her mind, like a warning she hadn't yet learned to read. "Would you like me to continue with part 2? Morning arrived with a soft chime from the facility's basic alarm system. Lyra began her second day of observation, her scales now a confident green. She had decided to document every technological flaw she could find. A comprehensive report on human inefficiency would please her superiors. Tom was already in the lab when she arrived, working on what appeared to be a simple energy converter. His fingers moved across the holographic display with surprising speed for a human. "Good morning, Ambassador," he said without looking up. "Would you like to see how we handle power distribution?" Lyra's tendrils twitched with amusement. Of course. She prepared her recorder, expecting to document their primitive methods. Tom pulled up a diagram of the facility's power grid. At first glance, it seemed basic: solar panels, wind turbines, and something they called geothermal energy. But as he explained the system, Lyra noticed something odd. The power output readings didn't match the input sources. "This seems inefficient," she said, pointing to a junction point. "You're losing energy here." Tom shrugged. "Oh, that's normal for our systems," but his heart rate increased slightly. Lyra's sensitive tendrils detected it. He was lying. Throughout the day, Lyra noticed more discrepancies. The lab's temperature remained perfectly constant despite varying energy usage. The lights never flickered, even when they activated power-hungry equipment. On her world, even their advanced grid had occasional fluctuations. During lunch break, she watched Tom eat a simple sandwich while reviewing data on his tablet. The screen seemed to display standard information, but occasionally, symbols flashed that didn't match any human language she'd studied. "Your writing system," she said, trying to sound casual. "It's quite basic." Tom smiled. "We like to keep things simple. Makes fewer mistakes that way." But Lyra had seen the complex equations in his lab. They were anything but simple. She added another note to her report, marking it with a priority flag. In the afternoon, they tested what Tom called a standard power relay. The device was crude-looking, just metal and plastic. But when they activated it, Lyra's instruments detected an energy signature unlike anything in the Coalition database. "Is something wrong?" Tom asked, noticing her confusion. "No," Lyra lied, her scales flickering purple with uncertainty. "Just making observations." Later, she watched him work on the mysterious blue-like device from yesterday. His movements were precise, practiced. Too practiced for someone working with experimental technology. "What did you say this was again?" she asked. "Cooling system," Tom replied. But this time he didn't meet her eyes. Pretty standard stuff. Lyra's evening report to the Coalition was longer than usual. She wrote about inefficiencies and primitive methods, but also included a separate encrypted section about the anomalies she'd observed. As she prepared to send it, an alert flashed on her communication device. "Local interference. Message delayed." But the facility's power readings showed nothing that could cause such interference. Another impossibility. In her quarters that night, Lyra reviewed the day's data. The humans were hiding something. Their technology appeared simple on the surface, but underneath. She pulled up an image of the cooling system. The energy patterns it emitted matched no known physics model in the Coalition database. Either her instruments were malfunctioning, or no, the alternative was impossible. Humans couldn't be more advanced than they appeared. The Coalition had centuries of evidence proving their technological infancy. Yet as she drifted off to sleep, doubt crept in. Tom's casual demeanor, the mysterious energy readings, the impossibly stable power grid. It all pointed to something bigger, something the humans were carefully hiding behind a facade of simplicity. Tomorrow, she decided, she would look closer, much closer. On her third day at the facility, Lyra arrived early. The corridors were still quiet, with only the hum of machinery breaking the silence. She had obtained security clearance to enter the lab alone, a sign of human trust, or perhaps carelessness. The lab door slid open with its usual simple hydraulic whoosh. Lyra moved quickly to Tom's workstation, her scales darkened to match the dim lighting. The computer system was primitive, using basic password protection that her Coalition tech easily bypassed. Or so she thought. As soon as she accessed the first file, hidden screens materialized around her. Not holograms. These were something else. The air itself seemed to become a display, showing complex schematics that made her scientific training scream in protest. "This is impossible," she whispered, her scales flashing rapid colors of shock and disbelief. The schematics showed what appeared to be a quantum manipulation system far beyond Coalition capabilities. Energy patterns twisted in ways that violated known physics. Power flows curved through dimensions that shouldn't exist. She heard footsteps in the corridor and quickly shut down the display. The regular screens returned to their simple interface just as Tom entered. "Early start?" he asked casually, but his eyes were sharp. "Yes, I wanted to review yesterday's data," Lyra said, her translator barely hiding her tremor. Tom nodded and went to the cooling system. He adjusted something, and for a moment, Lyra's advanced sensors detected a ripple in reality itself. Her scales turned pale with fear. "Ambassador, would you like to see something interesting?" Tom asked, pressing a sequence of apparently random buttons. A section of the lab wall dissolved. Not slid away, dissolved. Behind it stood a machine that hurt Lyra's eyes to look at. It seemed to exist in multiple states simultaneously, its metal surface both solid and fluid. "This is part of Project Phoenix," Tom said quietly. "I think it's time you knew what we're really working on." Lyra's translator failed to find words for her response. The machine defied everything she knew about physics, engineering, and human capabilities. "Your people," Tom continued, "they see what we want them to see. Simple computers, basic spaceflight, primitive power systems." He smiled. "It's safer that way." "Safer?" Lyra managed to ask. "History teaches interesting lessons, Ambassador. When advanced civilizations meet less developed ones, it rarely ends well for either side." Tom touched the machine, and it hummed in harmony with his DNA. "So we decided to appear simple, primitive, non-threatening." Lyra's mind raced through centuries of Coalition reports on Earth, the seemingly slow technological progress, the primitive solutions to complex problems, the apparent struggles with basic physics. All a lie. "The blue light," she said suddenly. "It's not a cooling system." "No," Tom agreed. "It's a quantum observer. It watches reality itself." Your arrival triggered several interesting readings. Lyra's scales had settled into a deep purple of shock and awe. "How long?" she asked. "How long have you been this advanced?" Tom's smile turned mysterious. "Would you believe me if I said we weren't advanced at all? That we're exactly as primitive as we appear?" But Lyra had seen too much now. The schematics burned in her memory, technology that made Coalition science look like children's toys. "What happens now?" she asked, her diplomatic training struggling with this paradigm shift. "That depends on you, Ambassador. You've seen behind the curtain. The question is, what will you do with that knowledge?" As if in response, her communication device chimed. The Coalition wanted her daily report. Lyra stared at it, then at the impossible machine, then at Tom's quiet, knowing expression. For the first time in her diplomatic career, she had no idea what to report. The simple humans weren't simple at all. And she had a feeling she'd only seen the beginning of their surprises. Alarms blared through the facility, their harsh sound breaking the tense silence between Lyra and Tom. Red emergency lights cast strange shadows across the quantum machine's impossible surface. "Containment breach in Sector 7, announced a calm computerized voice. "All personnel initiate emergency protocols." Tom's casual demeanor vanished instantly. His fingers danced across multiple control surfaces that appeared in the air around him. "This is bad," he muttered. "The backup systems are failing." "What's happening?" Lyra asked, her scales pulsing with anxiety. "Remember how I said Project Phoenix watches reality?" Tom's voice was tight with concentration. "Sometimes reality watches back, and sometimes it tries to break through." The floor trembled. Through the lab's windows, Lyra saw researchers running, their faces masks of controlled fear. The air itself seemed to shimmer with wrongness. "Ambassador," Tom said sharply, "I need your help. Your species can perceive quantum states naturally, right? Lyra's scales flickered in surprise. That was supposed to be a closely guarded coalition secret. How did you? No time, Tom interrupted. Look at the containment field and tell me what you see. Lyra turned her sensitive tendrils toward where Tom pointed. The air rippled like water, but underneath, there's a tear, she said. Reality is folding wrong. Tom nodded grimly. The experiment was supposed to be a controlled peek into parallel dimensions, but something noticed us looking. His hands moved faster, creating complex patterns in the air. I need to activate the full system. Full system? Lyra asked. Instead of answering, Tom pressed his palm against the quantum machine. The entire lab transformed. Walls became transparent, revealing layers of technology that had been hidden behind simple concrete facades. Energy patterns more complex than anything Lyra had ever seen burst into visible existence. By the first stars, she whispered, her translator struggling with her awe. The quantum machine hummed to life, its surface now clearly flowing like liquid metal. Tom's eyes glazed slightly as he connected directly with the system. Neural interfaces far beyond what the coalition thought possible. Watch, he commanded. Reality bent. There was no other way to describe it. The tear in spacetime that Lyra had sensed began to close, knitted together by forces that shouldn't exist. The machine didn't just manipulate energy, it rewrote the rules of physics themselves. Impossible, Lyra breathed. Your species, you're barely space-capable. You still use chemical rockets. You. Tom laughed despite the strain showing on his face. We use chemical rockets because they're fun. Because they're simple and reliable. Not because they're our only option. Through her quantum-sensitive tendrils, Lyra watched as the human technology did something her people had theorized but never achieved. It stabilized a dimensional breach by rewriting local universal constants. The containment breach was real, Tom explained as the alarms finally silenced. But it was also a chance to show you the truth. We needed you to understand. Understand what? Lyra asked, though she was beginning to guess. That humanity isn't what the coalition thinks we are. We're not simple. We're not primitive. The system's powered down, reality settling back into its normal patterns. We're patient. We watch. We learn. And we hide our true capabilities because we've read enough history to know what happens to civilizations that show their full strength too soon. Lyra looked around the lab with new eyes. The simple computers now clearly masked quantum processors. The basic lighting concealed gravity manipulators. Even the coffee machine in the corner had technology that would revolutionize coalition science. Your entire species, she started, maintains this deception, yes, because it's safer, because it lets us truly learn about others without fear or pressure. Tom's expression was serious now. The question is, Ambassador, what will you do with this knowledge? Lyra's scales settled into a deep blue of determination. She had been sent to evaluate humanity's technological level. Now she had seen the truth, and it changed everything. The simple humans weren't simple at all. They were possibly the most advanced species she had ever encountered. And they had trusted her with their greatest secret. Lyra paced in Tom's lab, her scales shifting between colors of confusion and revelation. The quantum machine stood silent now, its surface once again appearing deceptively simple. I need answers, she declared, stopping in front of Tom. Real answers. Tom nodded, pulling up 2 chairs, simple metal ones, though Lyra now suspected they were anything but ordinary. Ask away. How long? Her tendrils quivered. How long has humanity been this advanced? Depends on what you mean by advanced. Tom leaned back. We develop differently than most species. Instead of pursuing a single technological path, we explored all of them simultaneously. Some humans still use stone tools by choice, while others play with quantum mechanics. But the Coalition's observations were exactly what we wanted them to see. Tom gestured, and a holographic display appeared, showing Earth's public technological timeline. We learned early on that showing all your cards isn't always wise. When the first alien probes arrived centuries ago, we detected them, and we watched. Lyra's scales paled. Centuries ago. That's impossible. First contact was only 50 years ago. Tom smiled. First official contact, yes, but we'd been observing galactic civilizations long before that, including the Coalition. The implications hit Lyra like a gravity wave. The primitive space program, the clumsy attempts at colonization, all carefully staged. Tom's eyes twinkled. Though some of us really do enjoy strapping ourselves to chemical rockets, there's something thrilling about doing things the hard way. But why? Lyra demanded. Why maintain this deception? The Coalition could have helped you. Could they? Tom's voice was gentle. What happens in the Coalition when a less advanced species is discovered? Lyra's scales darkened with embarrassment. We guide them, provide approved technologies, direct their development along proper paths. Exactly. Tom stood and walked to a wall. With a gesture, it became transparent, revealing a vast underground complex filled with technology that made the quantum machine look simple. We didn't want to be guided. We didn't want to be directed. Humanity's greatest strength is our diversity of thought, our ability to take 1,000 different approaches to the same problem. The Coalition would never have allowed that, Lyra realized. No, they wouldn't have. So we played simple. We played primitive. We let the Coalition think they were helping us, while we quietly explored paths of science they'd never imagined. Lyra watched a group of researchers below, working with what appeared to be the fabric of space-time itself. Your projects, they're beyond anything in Coalition science. Some are, others aren't. We've failed as often as we succeeded, but we've always done it our way. Tom's expression grew serious. That's what Project Phoenix really is, not just a quantum manipulation system, but a proof that humanity's path, chaotic as it seems, works. And now you've shown me. Lyra's diplomatic training kicked in. Why? Why risk exposing this to a Coalition ambassador? Because it's time for a change. Tom sat back down. We've hidden long enough. The galaxy is becoming more dangerous. New threats are emerging. The Coalition needs to understand that their way isn't the only way. Lyra thought about her earlier reports, about her condescension towards simple humans. Everything she thought she knew had been wrong. If I report this, she said slowly, the Coalition will never believe me. No, Tom agreed. They won't. Not at first. That's why we're not asking you to report everything. Just plant seeds of doubt. Make them question their assumptions. The truth will emerge gradually, as it should. Lyra's scales settled into a deep purple of understanding. The humans hadn't just mastered advanced technology. They'd mastered the art of patience itself. Your people are far from simple, she admitted. Tom laughed. Oh, we're very simple, Ambassador. We just learned to turn that simplicity into our greatest strength. And looking at the vast complex of impossible machines below, Lyra finally understood what he meant. Humanity's true power wasn't in their technology. It was in their ability to appear simple while being unfathomably complex. The attack came without warning. Lyra was reviewing quantum data with Tom when the facility's real security systems activated, not the simple ones shown to visitors, but crystalline barriers that hummed with dimensional energy. We're being targeted, Tom announced, his casual demeanor replaced by focused intensity. Coalition military ships just dropped out of hyperspace. Lyra's scales turned ashen. Impossible. They wouldn't. Then she saw her communication device blinking with an urgent message. No. The message was clear. Her last encrypted report had been decoded. Fragments of the truth about human technological capabilities had reached Coalition High Command. They had responded exactly as humans had feared they would. 3 warships, Tom reported calmly, though his eyes tracked multiple holographic displays. They're charging weapons. You have to stop them. Lyra's tendrils writhed in distress. Show them your true capabilities. That would only confirm their fears. Tom's fingers danced across invisible interfaces. Project Phoenix's existence must remain hidden, or every advanced species in the galaxy will target Earth. The first shots hit the atmosphere. Plasma bolts designed to penetrate planetary shields. They dissipated harmlessly, though no visible defense system could be seen. "Ambassador," Tom said quietly, "you need to make a choice. Right now." Lyra understood. She could contact the coalition ships, confirm humanity's advanced status, and potentially trigger an interstellar war, or she could help maintain humanity's carefully crafted deception. The facility shook as more weapons fire tested Earth's invisible defenses. "Your ships are in no danger," Tom explained. "Our defensive systems are purely non-lethal." But they can't see that. Lyra watched as coalition weapons, capable of destroying planets, were quietly absorbed by technology that shouldn't exist. The human response appeared clumsy and primitive. Radio broadcasts pleading for peace, crude missile launches that fell far short of the ships. A perfect deception. "Let me contact them," Lyra decided, "but not to expose you." Tom nodded, understanding in his eyes. Lyra activated her diplomatic channel. "This is Ambassador Lyra. Stand down immediately. My earlier report was sent in error, a malfunction caused by human electromagnetic interference. I repeat, stand down." Tense moments passed. The weapons fire continued. Tom touched a control, and suddenly the facility appeared to suffer catastrophic damage. Holographic flames and debris created a convincing illusion of destruction. "Your weapons have damaged a primitive research facility," Lyra continued, letting real anger enter her voice. "The humans pose no threat. Stand down now, or this will become a diplomatic incident that will embarrass the coalition for generations." The attacks finally ceased. Lyra could almost feel the confusion aboard the coalition ships as they scanned the facility, detecting only simple technology and apparent destruction. "Situation contained," Tom announced softly. "They're retreating." Lyra watched the warships depart, her scales slowly returning to their normal hue. "They'll be back. Maybe not today, but eventually. The coalition doesn't like mysteries." "We know." Tom was already repairing the holographic damage, restoring the facility's simple appearance. "That's why the deception must be perfect. Not just technology, but psychology. Let them think they've confirmed their superiority. While beneath the surface, we continue our work." Tom smiled. "Humanity's greatest defense isn't our technology, Ambassador. It's our ability to appear harmless while being anything but." Lyra understood now why she had been shown the truth. Not just to help maintain the deception, but to understand its importance. "The coalition will question me about my report," she said, "and you'll have a perfectly reasonable explanation about equipment malfunctions and misunderstandings." Tom's eyes twinkled. "After all, humans are far too simple to have the technology I showed you." Looking at the now ordinary appearing lab, with its impossible quantum machine disguised as a simple cooling system, Lyra finally appreciated the true genius of humanity's strategy. They hadn't just mastered advanced technology. They had mastered the art of hiding it in plain sight. 1 month after the coalition attack, Lyra stood before the High Council, delivering her final report on Earth. Her scales maintained a perfect diplomatic blue as she spoke. "My investigation confirms previous assessments," she stated calmly. "Human technology remains centuries behind coalition standards. The energy readings that triggered our concern were the result of primitive nuclear experiments, nothing more." The council members shifted in their crystalline seats, their combined consciousness probing for deception. They found none. Lyra had learned well from her time with humans. "And the military response?" asked the first speaker. "An unfortunate overreaction that the humans, in their simplicity, have already forgotten." Lyra activated a hologram showing the damaged facility, now rebuilt with visibly primitive materials. "They believe it was a natural disaster. Their media accepted our explanation of atmospheric phenomena. In truth, Project Phoenix had expanded. Deep beneath the rebuilt facility, humans continued their quantum research, hidden behind a facade of simple concrete and steel. Very well, the first speaker declared. Earth will remain classified as a Category 3 developing world. Limited technological exchange will continue under strict supervision. Lyra bowed, hiding her amusement. The humans would eagerly accept the Coalition's advanced technology, examining it with wide-eyed wonder, while their own achievements remained carefully concealed. After the council session, Lyra returned to her private chambers. A simple communication device, deliberately primitive-looking, activated at her touch. Tom's face appeared in a deliberately grainy hologram. "How did it go?" he asked. "Exactly as planned. The Council is satisfied that humans remain charmingly primitive. They've even approved sharing more advanced technology with Earth." Tom laughed. "Perfect. We've already prepared appropriately enthusiastic responses to their gifts. The quantum physics team is particularly excited to appear baffled by basic spatial mechanics." "You're enjoying this," Lyra observed, her scales shifting to match Tom's amusement. "Of course. But there's a serious purpose too. The Coalition's guidance gives us insights into their technological thinking. It helps us stay hidden." Lyra understood now. Every piece of Coalition technology shared with Earth was studied not just for its capabilities, but for its limitations. Humans learned what they needed to appear appropriately primitive. "The Council appointed me as permanent ambassador to Earth," she told him, "to help guide your species' development. Congratulations, though I suspect you'll be the one learning from us." He was right. In the months since the crisis, Lyra had seen more wonders in Tom's lab than in centuries of Coalition science. Humans hadn't just mastered quantum mechanics. They'd found ways to work with physics the Coalition hadn't imagined possible. "There is one condition," she said. "The Council wants Project Phoenix shut down. They believe it's too dangerous for your current development level." "Is that so?" Tom's image flickered with barely contained laughter. "Well, we'll have to put on a good show of dismantling it. Maybe have a few scientists cry dramatically as we shut it down." Meanwhile, the real Project Phoenix would continue, hidden behind layers of deception that the Coalition would never penetrate. "You've changed everything I believed about humanity," Lyra admitted. "No," Tom corrected gently. "We showed you what humanity truly is, a species that learned to thrive not through dominance, but through understanding. Sometimes the greatest power lies in appearing powerless." As the communication ended, Lyra looked out at the Coalition capital's crystalline spires. Somewhere out there, humanity was watching, learning, growing, all while appearing to stumble along in technological infancy. She touched the quantum sensor hidden in her scales, a gift from Tom. Through it, she could see the true complexity of reality, just as she now saw the true nature of humanity. They were not simple. They had never been simple. And in pretending to be simple, they had achieved something remarkable. They had become the most sophisticated species in the galaxy. Lyra's scales settled into a deep, satisfied purple. She was no longer just an ambassador to Earth. She was now part of humanity's greatest project, the art of hiding complexity behind simplicity and finding strength in appearing weak. The deception would continue, and she would help maintain it. After all, some truths were better left wrapped in simple disguises.